Metal. Once if Roger gets up and leaves. Today is the Academic Matters Committee. Trustee Howtire could not be here today, so I am appointing Trustee Sharma as committee chair pro tem. Additionally, in order to satisfy the quorum requirements, I hereby appoint myself to serve as pro tem member of the Academic Matters Committee meeting. Mr. Trustee Sharma, you may proceed.
The meeting of the Academic Matters Committee is now in session. The first item is announcements. Dr. Gupchup, are there any announcements?
Yes, Dr. Sharma. So thank you. As you know, the SIU System Strategic Plan was launched in February 2022 and approved by this Board of Trustees following an extensive collaborative effort across each of the SIU campuses. From the beginning, the SIU system has held fast to the belief that the SIU System Strategic Plan is a living plan. As new needs and opportunities emerge, and as we learn, the implementation teams capture recommendations for updates to the strategic plan. At the midpoint of the first SIU System Strategic Plan, the document has been updated to reflect any changes in strategies that were made so as to best accomplish the goals and objectives of the strategic plan. The updated strategic plan with updated objectives and metrics is available on the system website. The dashboard for the SIU System Strategic Plan has been updated as well, and we have made impressive progress on all the goals of the strategic plan, thanks to all those involved in implementing the plan. Finally, I would like to highlight some of the results for the SIU System Course Exchange that I mentioned on the dashboard. So far, the SIU System Course Exchange has been availed of by 72 students, principally in the fall 2023 and 2024 semesters and the spring 2024 semesters. Across the 3 semesters, 40 courses have been taken by the students and 61 courses have been articulated. So that's pretty good progress, and I thank everyone that's been involved in the SIU System Course Exchange. This ends my announcements, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you, Dr. Gupchup. I think, and the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the September 12, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower, Salver. Yes. Sharma.
Yes. The next item is the performance report. Vice President Gupchup, will you introduce this item, please?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sharma. Each year, the SIU system submits a performance report to the Illinois Board of Higher Education. This year, the report involves our response to the 3 goals outlined in the IBHE strategic plan, A Thriving Illinois. Each provost will highlight one success achieved under each of the 3 goals: equity, sustainability, and growth. I will request Provost Tucker to present first, followed by Dean and Provost Cruz, and then Provost Cobb. Provost Tucker.
It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about some of the work going on the SIUC campus. We have the slides.
Is your mic on?
Is that better? No. Is this better?
Yes.
See, I can stand and it's the right height. If we go to the first slide, please. Thank you. The first pillar of equity and the IBHE plan aligns, of course, with all of our institutions in providing opportunities for students. We are committed to attracting and retaining those students and offering tailored services. So I wanted to highlight our Achieve program. This is a hidden gem at the university. Higher ed is really good at having excellent programs, particularly those that have been here historically, and we don't call attention to those programs very often. So the Achieve program is engaging neurodiverse learners. And so we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. Neurodiversity has really come into its own in the last few years. Yet we have had a program for 45 years on this campus and is nationally known program. This particular program serves students with learning disabilities, attention disorders, autism spectrum disorders, and other related learning differences. And this is run by Roger Pugh, the director. It is a comprehensive fee-for-service program that helps students learn managerial, organizational, and executive functioning skills, as well as social skills to interact with their peers. And there's tutoring support with students with learning differences. These students are outstanding. We have 95% retained from their first year to the second year, and 33% end up on the dean's list. So again, it is a way for us to ensure that all students have opportunities in higher ed. And I want to point out the gentleman in the uniform there at the bottom. This is Grant Gardner, and I want to give you just a little snippet from a note that his parents sent in. Our son, Grant Gardner, graduated from SIU in 2018 with a great deal of support from Achieve. Your program took a young man who was traumatized by his high school educational and social experiences and slowly helped him heal and find confidence in himself. He fell in love with SIU and his classes. Grant has now worked for 5.5 years as a correctional officer for the St. Clair County Sheriff's Department. This year, he was named Officer of the Year, and this week he was promoted to sergeant. We cannot overstate enough how much Achieve, the program and the people, changed Grant's vision of himself and his abilities. His degree helped open doors for him to find a career in which he is thriving. Thank you. Thank you for leveling the playing field for those who learn differently and providing the opportunity for them to fall in love with learning and seeing themselves as capable. So this is a real testament to a program that we are proud to have at SIU, and one that I hope we're going to do a little bit more in advertising and recruiting, because we are able to help those students achieve their career goals as well. The second pillar of growth, I'd like to focus on our research and innovation enterprise, particularly given our aspirations as an R1 institution. So this particular slide is under the direction of our Vice Chancellor for Research, which is Costas Sadisoulis. We've had research expenditure growth of 2.9% in fiscal 24 to 76 million. And that is our research expenditures. And a lot of people like to talk about funding. Our faculty on this Carbondale campus received 64 million. 34 million of that was from federal resources such as the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the National Science Foundation, the Department of Agriculture, NASA, etc. In addition to that, there was funding from the state of Illinois was 22 million of that, and that comes from commerce and economic opportunity, the Illinois State Board of Education, the Illinois Department of Human Services, and natural resources. So our research portfolio is fairly diverse, which is what you want to see with the scholarly and creative work that is done on this campus. I also want to point out the Illinois Innovation Network, how important it is that our faculty are participating in interdisciplinary projects that also serve the state in this institution. And so those grants, there were 3 grants that they received as part of this campus and under this interdisciplinary work. One of them was in sustainable farming, so you can imagine partnerships there throughout the state, as well as engineering sustainability composite membranes for water filtration and remediation. And with the drought that we've all had, the importance of our water resources can't be understated. Under our research enterprise, we also have the Office of Innovation and Economic Development under Lynn Lindbergh. And this is our primary outreach to the region. So many of you are aware, we are a Carnegie designated community engagement campus. That's an important aspect of what we do here, and we are looking at the renewal application right now. This particular office is part of that in terms of being involved in the community. For example, I just listed 2 workshops here, Art of Giving Great Service, so customer service, helping our local businesses skill up their employees, as well as cybersecurity is national security, data security. I don't know about you, but I get about once a week, there's been a data breach and your information is out there. So again, we're trying to make sure that we are using our resources and expertise on this campus to help our local communities, as well as being engaged in the state. And the last pillar of sustainability. So this is access and opportunity for all students. And this is really thinking about our strategic plan. So this is SIUC Say Yes initiative. This is under Vice Chancellor for Enrollment Management, Wendell Williams, leads this group. And he has been exceedingly progressive. A lot of things that we do, like Saluki Step Ahead that we talked about last year, and you've heard quite a bit about, then becomes the model for others. And the Say Yes campaign is in that similar vein. The work that that team has done is now being picked up at the state level. So this particular Say Yes initiative is a free streamlined application process for high school students. So those who have a 2.75 GPA at the beginning of that senior year get pre-admitted to SIUC. So we help them imagine being a college student. So many students, no one said to them, you can be successful in college, that there's an opportunity for you. So by using this particular metric of getting out in front of it and pre-admitting them, we now are planting that seed for a student that maybe has never been encouraged to think about college, that you are admitted to SIUC. So last year, the team looked at the 17 Southern Illinois counties, and there is an 8.2% increase in enrollment of students from those counties with the Say Yes campaign. This now has been scaled to the country, so the state of Illinois, as well as the US, where we have a historical presence in high schools. And right now, in terms of admitted students, we're up 8.9% in the Say Yes campaign. So again, helping students imagine that they can be successful, they can go to college. I thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions, but just wanted to highlight that we are all about access and opportunity on this campus. And it is about helping the students, whether they have different learning styles, to those who have never been encouraged to go to college, to then integrating them into our research enterprise when they come to us as students. Thank you.
I think I'll sit down. Get my slides, please. So I'm happy to make this report for the School of Medicine. I'll focus on some things that have happened in the past year, but also some things that are trends over 5 years. A couple of the things that I say will be reviews of things that I've mentioned at these meetings before, and some of them will be new. So these are the topics that I'll cover. For sustainability, I'm going to focus on partnerships, and this one, the state of Illinois. For growth, the clinical practice, and for equity, the medical student scholar pathways that have been developed. So you've heard about the behavioral health workforce expansion that we've had, and the center that has been developed in partnership with all of the organizations that you see on this slide. Part of our strategic plan of the School of Medicine was to enhance our partnerships with public, private, academic, and governmental institutions to to maintain and improve our sustainability over the years. This program is a partnership with the Illinois Board of Higher Education, the Illinois Department of Human Services, the Illinois Community College Board, and the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. And the pillars of that initiative are listed on the side there. The SIU School of Medicine received the primary hub for the Behavioral Health Workforce Center, and University of Illinois Chicago got the secondary hub on that one. These are the tangible goals that have been already achieved by that process. Already, we have added we've added new psychiatry residents and psychiatry faculty members that are listed in number 1, and upcoming in this year and in future years will be more nurse practitioner and PA students, a new clinical psychology program, more opportunities for social work students, a new forensic psychiatry fellowship, stabilization of our child psychiatry fellowship, and clinical psychiatry nursing program expansion. So this one has tangible results already. In the growth category, clinical growth, to reach more people in our service area and more groups of people who have been left behind. And also it expands the type and number of our educational sites for all of our learners, students, residents, and fellows. So the 5-year numbers for the measures of growth for the practice, clinical productivity is increased by any measure you take by 50 to 60%, clinical income up 40%, the number of physician faculty up 28%, the number of resident physicians up 19%. And then our operating reserves, a sign of sustainability and stability that goes along with growth. We're at 60th percentile for medical school faculty practices. The partnerships here are amazing with our hospital partners and new partnerships with insurers and governmental agencies as well. The third one, equity. The first slide is historic programs that we've had. This will be quick. The board heard about the Med Prep program yesterday. I think you know about our McNeese P4 program for high school students, the Physician Preparatory Pathway Program, our pipeline program. The Office of Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion was established in 2016, and then we declared to become an anti-racist institution. On this slide, I just wanted to mention that since Dr. Elamine took over as Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion, the number of students in the McNeese P4 program has increased from 40 to 168. So that's growth too. But the new one here is that for our students, we've developed focus areas for them to develop new areas of expertise throughout medical school, medical student pathway programs. These are the ones that they can choose from to do over their 4 years in medical school. Health equity scholars, medical education scholars, to focus on the expertise that the school has in medical education. Interprofessional complex care scholars are those that focus on getting into the community, engaging the community, finding the most vulnerable, highest risk of patients and focusing care on them. Then through our Center for Human and Organizational Potential, leadership development scholars, and the first one was our research scholars. The highest subscribed one, and the reason this is under the equity goal, guess what, is our health equity scholars. So that's my report. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Can you hear? Okay.
Yeah.
A little shorter. Even sitting. All right. I hope that what you'll hear is a thread that pulls these three themes together, these three goals from IBHE, and reflects what Chancellor Minor refers to a laser focus for SIUE on student success. And so hopefully you'll hear that through line and understand the kind of focus that the university has right now across these categories. Remember, this is a look back, which is always a little bit awkward, right? So we're looking back to the last fiscal year. So when we look back for fall 22 to fall 23, we did see an increase in that first to second year retention rate, which is something that's keenly important to our campus. And I want to be clear that it's not just an academic affairs initiative that makes that happen, right? It takes all divisions across the university, faculty, staff, and others to make that goal real. Obviously, that's not where we'd like to be. It's not where where we were prior to the pandemic, but it's movement back in the right direction that we were able to sustain this year and that we intend to grow this coming fall. What's really critical on this slide, though, is to move that number, you have to close equity gaps, right? And that is certainly part of our mission. And we were incredibly proud to see this gain among our African-American students from 57.6% to 68.5%. I particularly want to acknowledge Vice Chancellor Harris, who's in the room, as well as the SOAR team and the folks who worked on the Black Scholar experience. A 10 percentage point gain is really critical for our students, right? It is not just about access. It is also about making all the way across the stage to get that degree. That's what really transforms lives. And you have to retain students in order to make that happen. We also saw considerable gains for our students who are also Pell recipients, and making sure that this isn't just a dream for students who are from high income families, but for students who have struggled in terms of socioeconomic status, to make this transformative possibility for generations to come. Just a couple of quick highlights. So we've been expanding our summer success program. That is part of how this happens, creating more pre-collegiate experiences. We were planning for direct entry, which happened this fall for the first time. So all students who were first-time full-time students at SIU were able to declare their major upon entry, which I think is going to yield real dividends in terms of connectivity, a sense of identity building and belonging. And then just the last thing I'll highlight that I think contributes both in the short term and long term is we've had 122 faculty and staff who've engaged in our AQ courses or our contract with AQ to help with pedagogy and to help foster a sense of belonging. So 138 courses to earn various kinds of credentials. And most recently, we've been working across the system to support faculty across the system in taking these courses. They really do make a difference. So in terms of sustainability, we're thinking about how do we encourage other ways of funding and supporting student success. And again, I want to acknowledge it's a great opportunity to get to talk about other people. Vice Chancellor Collins, our advancement team, Chancellor Minor's efforts, we had another record fundraising year. And so it's always nice to be able to say another record fundraising year and seeing that continue. But importantly, when we have great ideas for student success and when we have opportunities to grow enrollment or move the needle on retention and graduation rates, to be able to receive a $4 million gift from an alum to support the expansion of the John Martinson Honors Program, which will eventually become the John Martinson Honors College. That's really transformative for our students. It allows us to recruit students who've already been demonstrating high achievement and for them to become part of our community and to help shape the curriculum for the future and to help shape our campus. So we're really excited about that. And then we've talked to you previously about our CODES program, our community-oriented digital engagement scholars program, which provides a path for students who have been historically underrepresented in higher education, have a high impact experience from day one and engage in the digital humanities and community engagement. And so we received a $1 million Mellon Foundation grant. I highlight these as sustainability because alone, we can't fully catalyze these, right? But when we have donors, when we have foundation support, we can accelerate the growth of these programs, make them accessible to more students, and contribute to student success differently. And I think also attract new students to our university who will help change the trajectory of our region and our state. And then the last goal is growth. And there are a lot of different ways to think about this, right? We could highlight research expenditures, we could highlight all kinds of things, right? But when you think about how do you grow talent, how do you really make a difference as a higher education university, a higher education institution in terms of innovation, talent development, and economic prosperity, part of how we do that is fundamentally by embodying this mission of access, opportunity, and student success, and growing the number of students we serve. So we've been able to, through diversifying our offerings, to hold enrollment relatively steady. We obviously want to grow, but we have to do that by changing the way that we behave, right? We can't just think about first-time, full-time students. We've had to increase international student enrollment. For the third year in a row, we've had more than 3,000 graduate students. That's an important modification to the way that we think about enrollment. We've been growing online degree completion. We had our first cohort of dual credit students at Collinsville High School. Over 80 students enrolled in a course with us to help them think about college readiness and career and leadership. And we know that that's an opportunity. We don't need to offer dual credit where community colleges are, but where there's opportunity to introduce students to the university. We've certainly seized upon that and expanded that opportunity again this fall. You also see a picture on the upper left of our forensic science program. We were able to admit our first cohort last academic year. We're now in our second cohort. Incredibly proud of the work that that team is doing in partnership with the Illinois State Police in offering this forensic science program and developing that. And a really critical and sort of hidden part of what we do, I think that we don't celebrate enough and that we have a real opportunity to expand, is thinking about alternative digital credentials. So not every student is looking for another credential or a degree, right? So maybe you have working professionals who they already have a bachelor's degree, they already have a master's degree, but they really want to learn about data science and they don't want another 30-hour degree program, right? We can package digital credentials for them. We've been doing this a lot for students who, on the right-hand side, you can see students who were employees of Tyson who took courses. They were incredibly excited that they made it through the algebra course. But you know, they want to grow in their profession and their employer wants them to grow in terms of their ability to do food science. And so we were ready to go on site and help with that. It's not a college-bearing course, but it is part of workforce development and building confidence so that there can be these on-ramps and off-ramps. And I think as we grow, we have to think differently about credentials and the way they can stack and the way that students enter the university differently. And that's how we will be able to grow for the future and really contribute to innovation and economic development throughout the region beyond our research mission. So I hope that you can see that through line for the university and this focus on student success and access opportunity and closing equity gaps. So those are our highlights for the year. I hope that you can hear how it takes the entire university to really serve these goals and this mission.
Thank you. Thank you, Provost Tucker, Provost Cobb, and Dean Cruz. Impressive report. Any questions?
No, I would just like to make a comment that, you know, the access to education from all demographics, the academic and research programs we have on these various campuses, and the mission we have of preparing our students for the future is what this university is all about. And I cannot be more proud of each of these campuses and what they're doing. And and not only what they're doing for the students, but also for the surrounding communities that we live in. So I'm just very pleased with the reports, and it's something that we all ought to be proud of.
Yeah, if I can follow up real quickly, I think you hit on a couple things. As I've listened to all these reports, I think those two things we often focus on as a university is making sure all of our students have a chance to be successful, but recognizing that they may need different types of support or different types of programs. And that's what you saw, I think, in multiple different ways across the campuses. And that's been something we've been committed to and I think have continued to expand on, and I'm quite proud of that. But the other is the impact on the community. And that's done in a number of different ways, whether it's through our research or providing the workforce, whether it's in forensic science or behavioral health, that we are constantly looking at what can we do to make the state a better place. So.
Thank you. The committee items 4 through 8 propose Distinguished Service Awards and honorary degrees at the Carbondale campus. Chancellor Lane, will you present these items?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and very pleased. I probably say this every year, but we've got a great selection. Thanks to our committee for their commitment to going through all of the candidates. So I'll start with Distinguished Service Awards. Mr. Edward Vinyas, our Professor Emeritus at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, has made a lasting impact through his extensive contributions to the music scene locally and internationally. As the founder and artistic director of the Southern Illinois Music Festival, he established a unique 2-week summer event that has brought classical music, opera, ballet, and jazz to culturally underserved communities across Southern Illinois, running over 20 years. Vinyas's leadership helped the festival achieve recognition in Symphony Magazine and the Chicago Tribune, further securing grants from the National Endowment for the Arts to support its mission. Our next Distinguished Service Award is being recommended is Dr. Michael M. Crow, President of Arizona State University. He's a distinguished leader in higher education with deep ties to Southern Illinois University. From 1978 to 1982, Dr. Crow served as Assistant Director of Program Planning at SIU's Full Research Center and earned his Master's in Public Administration from SIU in 1980. He also edited High Sulfur Coal Exports and International Analysis published by SIU Press in 1983. Our next person is Dr. Thomas W. Davis. He's an esteemed orthopedic surgeon and healthcare visionary, renowned for pioneering accessible orthopedic care across Southern Illinois. He's a native of Anna. Dr. Davis graduated from Anna Jonesboro High School in 1965 and attended Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. He accepted to Tulane Medical School after only 3 years. He earned his medical degree in 1972, initially practicing medicine and general surgery in his hometown. He became a traveling orthopedic surgeon, servicing multiple hospitals in Southern Illinois before establishing Southern Orthopedic Associates in Carbondale in 1984. Moving on to the honorary degrees, and Chancellor Lyman will be pleased to know is one of our fraternity brothers here. Reginald E. Petty is a distinguished advocate for social justice and international development, whose career has spanned decades across continents. A proud alumnus of Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, Mr. Petty earned a Bachelor of Science in Sociology in 1956, and a Master's in Secondary Education in 1963. At SIU Carbondale, he forged a lifelong friendship with civil rights icon Dick Gregory, and soon joined the ranks of social justice activists, working with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in the 1960s. His dedication to the civil rights movement led him to participate in pivotal voter registration drives across the southern United States. In 1966, Mr. Petty joined the Peace Corps, and upon returning to East St. Louis, Illinois, Mr. Petty remained a community pillar, advocating for education and preserving African American heritage. When I arrived, Dr. Brown, Father Brown, said, "That's the person you need to know." So get over East St. Louis and meet. I appreciate you for that. Dr. Sanat Fishab, MD, JD, is a pioneering advocate and leader in global women's health, with a remarkable career dedicated to improving healthcare systems and mentoring emerging leaders in underserved regions. Currently serving as Vice President of Global Programs at the Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation. She oversees international grant-making initiatives focused on health equity, reproductive rights, and general equality worldwide. As I mentioned earlier, each of the nominations were reviewed by SIU Carbondale's Committee for Honorary Degrees and Distinguished Service Awards. As Chancellor, I humbly ask for the Board of Trustees approval to move forward with these recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Is there a motion to approve committee items 4 through 8?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower, Salver. Yes. Sharma.
Yes. The motion passes. The committee items 9 and 10 propose a distinguished service award and honorary degree at the Edwardsville campus. Chancellor Minor, will you please present these items?
Thank you, Trustee Sharma. The first recommendation is for the Distinguished Service Award awarded to Mr. Bruce Holland, who has been a leader in the construction industry for more than 40 years. In 1986, Holland founded Holland Construction Services in Swansea, Illinois, with a vision of applying top quality, intensive, and hands-on management to a full-service construction firm. Under Holland's leadership, Holland Construction became a pioneer in the Midwest for executing the construction management delivery method by focusing on integrity, trust, and longstanding relationships. Holland has led Holland Construction to become one of the most respected and sought-after contractors and employers in Southern Illinois and the St. Louis Metro. Currently, at least 1/3 of Holland Construction employees are graduates of SIUE, including Holland's two principal partners, a graduate in 1994 and Doug Weber in 1998. Holland has been a fierce advocate for the advancement of SIUE and the economic development of the Metro East region. In 2021, Holland played an integral role in the Southern Illinois Construction Advancement Program board vote to make a gift of $500,000 that would endow the first SIUE professorship for the Construction Management Department at SIUE. As the CEO of Holland Construction, Holland ensures that the company remains consistently engaged with the School of Engineering. Holland's philanthropic contributions to SIUE today exceed $130,000. Holland holds a distinguished record of service to SIUE and the SIU system, including membership as the current board president of the SIU System Initiatives Board and past membership on SIUE's University Park Board of Directors, the SIUE School of Business, Construction Leadership Institute Advisory Board, and the SIUE Foundation Board of Directors. The second recommendation is for an honorary doctorate for Mr. David L. Stewart Sr., who is an entrepreneur and civic leader. He's also a philanthropist and industry trailblazer and co-founder of the renowned Worldwide Technology, multinational $14 billion company that is headquartered in Chesterfield, but again, multinational with locations both in Missouri and Illinois. After graduating from college, Mr. Stewart worked in sales for Missouri Pacific Railroad, Union Pacific, and FedEx before co-founding Worldwide Technology in 1990. He has built this company from a small government contractor of 9 employees into a global technology solutions provider with more than $20 billion in annual revenue and now over 10,000 employees globally. Worldwide Technology, as a systems integrator, provides supply chain technology to 45% of Fortune 500 companies. As an individual, Mr. Stewart is one of SIUE's top 100 donors. I'm going to try to move him up on the list of all times, and is a member of the Chancellor Circle Donor Society. Trustee Sharma, we respectfully ask the board's approval for these two recommendations.
Thank you, Chancellor Minor. Is there a motion to approve committee items 9 and 10?
So moved.
So any second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower, Souger? Yes. Sharma?
Yes, the motion passes. If other business, if there is no other business before the Academic Matters Committee, this meeting is adjourned.
Okay, thank you, trustee Sharma. The next committee meeting is the audit committee meeting. Trustee Curtis, please proceed in order to satisfy the membership requirements. I hereby appoint myself as pro tem member of the audit committee for the meeting for this morning. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes of the meeting held on September 12, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call.
Curtis?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Sarah?
Item 4 is a presentation of the FY 24 annual audit and activity by Kim Labonte, the Executive Director of Audit. Director Labonte, will you please present?
Certainly. Good morning. The purpose of today's meeting, as was indicated, is to present the fiscal year 24 annual activity report, which was provided to the president and members of the audit committee in September. This report is required by the Fiscal Control and Internal Auditing Act, and it summarizes how the Office of Internal Audit, Compliance, and Ethics utilizes its resources, as well as the status of the internal audit plan and actions being taken by the office's compliance and ethics functions. I'll share just a few highlights from that report with you. For most of fiscal year 24, we operated at nearly full staffing levels, with one vacancy, which has just recently been filled. Professionals in our office have a combined total of 102 years institutional experience and together hold 9 professional certifications relevant to the industry. I report functionally to the board via the audit committee and administratively to the president. This positioning provides us the organizational authority and status to carry out our duties without interference and supports our independence and objectivity. Annually, I review the 2-year audit plan, adjust it based on identified risks, and present it to the audit committee for feedback and concurrence. The fiscal year 24-25 audit plan initially identified 28 audits based on risk, which following the most recent risk assessment process grew to 36 audits for the 25-26 year plan. At the time that the annual report was prepared, of these 36 engagements, 3 had been completed and 14 were in process. During fiscal year 24, we issued 14 new recommendations for improvement to management and successfully closed 24 prior year recommendations, which was a 60% closure rate for fiscal year 24. We solicit feedback from campus departments at the end of every audit. This year, we scored a 3.61 on a 4-point scale for service satisfaction. 86% of our office's budget is designated to employee salaries. 4% is spent on technology support, continuing education, and professional memberships, and 8% is dedicated to the delivery of our annual ethics training to all university employees. I have an obligation under the standards to report to the audit committee and the president if there are any shortfalls in our resources, including human, budget, or technology. No such shortfalls were encountered during fiscal year 24, aside from the previously reported open position which has been filled. However, I will say it has become a challenge to recruit qualified staff with the limitations of our current budget, and it's becoming necessary to begin to address inadequacies in staff salaries in order to begin to close the gap between university auditor salaries and those at comparable other governmental entities. On the ethics side of the office, the ethics officer carried out her mandated duties, including the review of 959 statements of economic interest. This division of the office also investigated 32 OEIG referrals and fulfilled 5 case document requests from the OEIG. And finally, the compliance officer also continues to maintain a compliance database, which contains over 775 lines of mandates that are applicable to the university. This concludes the summary of the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Director Labonte? Kim, before you step up, I want to say a few words about you. So for those that are unaware, 2 weeks from tomorrow, Kim Labonte is going to retire from the university system. She's been our executive director for 16 years. And I'm just about to complete in spring my 6th year on this board. So the last 4, I've chaired the audit committee. So I've had the opportunity to watch Kim, learn from Kim, and this is a difficult role. when you think about it, not everybody's anxious to have the auditors come in, but I will tell you, she's got an intelligent mind, tremendous intellectual curiosity, cares deeply for this university system. And it's going to be a profound loss when she leaves in 2 weeks. So Kim, I want to congratulate you on your years of service to the university, 16 and 31 years working for the state of Illinois. You deserve your time, but you're going to be a big loss. And I appreciated the opportunity to work with you these last several years. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I would just like to follow up with a few comments because I've been on this board since 2015, and the first couple of years I was chair of the audit committee and worked with Kim. And, you know, the finances of a university, especially this university, is complex. And what she has done, you know, none of us have gone to jail. And
That's always been my goal.
and that's been her goal. And, you know, she has just been a stellar employee for this university. She's committed to this university and to her work with the state of Illinois. And following up on what Trustee Curtis said will be a tremendous loss. And remember what I told you earlier today, if you want to come back, just let us know, because it will be a tremendous loss, and your shoes are going to be very, very, very difficult to fill. And congratulations. I know you're going to do a lot of traveling, take a lot of pictures, and let us know where you're going. Okay.
Well, thank you all for the kind words. I do appreciate it. Not everyone recognizes and appreciates the value of internal audit. But over the years, there are many on our board currently and in the past, and many leaders in our campus, university environment that do understand that value. And it's those individuals that I'm just so thankful for, because they've made what can often be a very thankless job, audit. We all know that, and turned it into a really enjoyable career. I've really enjoyed my time here. I've enjoyed my time with the state, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I'm ready for the next chapter. And so I'm looking forward to travel, and I'll share pictures, and you can all live vicariously through me. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Good luck,
And
Kim.
let me just add real quickly, I think that auditors are actually the best people in the world.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that seems.
So I don't know what anybody's talking about auditors not being popular. I thought we were the most popular people, but
Agreed.
having been a former auditor, I can certainly attest to the work that Kim has done and how helpful it's been. And what is, I think, particularly impressive is we do surveys of people who work with her office, and how positive they are for an internal audit office is incredibly rare. And I think it's because they really have taken the approach under her leadership of making us better. And I will also say part of her job has been working with our external auditors, which is a whole other big challenge to deal with. And she's done that incredibly well. So again, thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Kim. And if there are no other business to come before the audit committee, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. The next meeting is a finance committee meeting. Mr. Tedrick, you may proceed.
Thank you. The Finance Committee meeting is now in session, and the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of September 12th, 2024. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Hedrick,
Yes.
Connolly. Yes. Curtis,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the minutes are approved. Committee item 2 proposes the approval of changes in faculty administrative payroll in the Office of the President and university-wide services. President Mahoney.
Yeah, this should be relatively quick. There's no salary change actually in this one. It's simply a title change. Many of the people who report to me either have the vice president title or executive director title. But in one case, we had one that was just a director title. This is just to correct that and make sure they're all consistent and all have that executive director title. Just an oversight in the past. That's the only reason it wasn't that way before.
That's pretty easy.
That is easy, I think.
All right, do I have a motion to accept?
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Tedrick,
Yes.
Connolly. Yes. Curtis,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the item is approved. Committee item 3 proposes revisions to the board policy on university's self-insurance program. Vice President Stuckey, will you present, please?
Thank you. Excuse me. Recently, the former Office of Risk Management was renamed the Office of Risk Management Insurance Programs to distinguish it from a system-wide effort to coordinate risk programs across the campuses. This matter recognizes that name change whereas occurs in board policy. Please, we seek your approval.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion to accept?
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Hedrick,
Yes.
Connolly. Yes. Curtis,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the item is approved. Committee item 4 proposes a salary increase plan for FY 26, the School of Medicine. For 25, excuse me, for the School of Medicine. Vice President Suki?
Thank you. Following the last board meeting, the School of Medicine leadership decided to add a salary increase plan for its administrative professional staff. It is proposed to provide a salary increase pool of 1% for increases effective October 1.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Hedrick,
Yes.
Connolly. Yes. Curtis,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
This item is approved. Committee item 5 and 6 propose an approval to acquire real estate and an approval to purchase for the SIU School of Medicine. Dean Cruz.
Yes, the first one is T in the book. This is for renewal of leased space of just over 39,000 square feet that we already occupy for educational space and administrative offices for the Departments of Surgery, Emergency Medicine, and Internal Medicine at 701 North First Street in Springfield Memorial Hospital. A 3-year term plus 2 2-year renewals for $6,147,000 funding through existing funds.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And we're voting on both of those together, both items together. Let's start over. Do I have a motion to approve both items?
So moved.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, okay. So U is for the interior renovation and building of a second infusion center at the Simmons Cancer Institute. In essence, it's renovation of existing shell space. The estimated cost for everything, design fees, furniture, medical equipment, network, and computer equipment are included at $2 million. Non-appropriated funds will be used for that.
Okay, let's vote on both of those together. Do I have a motion to approve both?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Hedrick,
Yes.
Connolly. Yes. Said you talked about Y instead of T.
I think we just
Board agenda
I'm
item
sorry?
T. You introduced board agenda Y instead of T.
Well, why was not in the finance committee?
It's on we just got ahead of ourselves by one,
I didn't do that. I didn't do T.
T and U. I think you did U.
I did.
T.
I did T and U.
There's a V.
T and U.
720 and 725 North Bond.
725 North Pond. Revision, it was the revision to approve,
I thought you did the leases.
Yeah.
Well, that's
that's
you.
you.
Yeah.
He did that
Did
one.
he do T?
He did T before it. Yeah, yeah, he
I
did.
did.
He did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he
We
did
jumped
T and
ahead.
U.
We jumped ahead.
No, we haven't.
No,
done-
that's,
He did
yeah.
T and U. We
he
haven't.
was talking about cancer. So I think we did. So we're back to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let him release book here. He called them T and U.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It may have been.
Let's kind of start over again.
Let's vote on T and U.
Yeah, those are good ones to do. Yeah.
Yes. Let's do this again. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Aye.
Madam Secretary?
Tedrick,
Yes.
Connolly. Yes. Curtis,
I want to enter an abstention on both.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the item is approved. Committee item 7 proposes an approval to acquire real estate for the School of Medicine. Dean Cruz? This item V.
This is item V. Okay. So this is to acquire real estate at 636 Herndon and 1042 North Franklin Street in Springfield This is in the footprint of the campus of this main campus of the School of Medicine. The cost for the two properties plus demolition of one building is $160,000 at market rates, and we'll use non-appropriated funds.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Tedrick,
Yes,
Connolly. Yes. Curtis,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
and the item is approved. Committee item 8 proposes an approval of project purchase and ground lease and a notice of award for SIU E. This is a joint discussion with the A&D Committee. Dr. Retzlaff.
Good morning, thank you. SIU is committed to energy efficiency and continuing our path towards a sustainable campus. And we've been working on this solar project brought forward in this board matter for more than 2 years. It will be good today for us to take the next step towards reducing our campus carbon footprint, along with reducing significantly our electricity expenses, which last year were $3.5 million for 43.7 million kilowatt hours used on our main campus. Phase 1 of our energy plan was enacted 2 years ago, was to enter into a community solar agreement with our current energy supplier upon the recommendation of our energy consultant Tradition. And in this community solar plan, which we have maximized, we subscribed and received 5 megawatts of electricity from an offsite solar installation, and in return receive an 8% rate reduction on that solar that we get from the offsite. This matter today seeks approval for phase 2 of our sustainable energy plan and requests to enter into a power purchase agreement and a ground lease between SIUE and the independent firm Amoresco for the installation of an approximate 25-acre solar generation facility located west of Stadium Drive on our campus. You may recall in September at the board meeting, planning approval for the development of the solar farm was approved, and an RFP was put out through the procurement process with multiple entities applying. Amoresco Incorporated of Framingham, Massachusetts has been selected through that process as the most qualified vendor. Amoresco will finance the upfront cost of installation and maintenance of the facility on SIUE's property. They will also provide us with the transmission infrastructure from the facility inside our SIUE power grid, which will be essential infrastructure if we move forward with future solar installations or other energy issues. In exchange, SIUE will agree to purchase all the energy produced from this facility for the next 25 years at a fixed rate that is lower than market rates. I have a couple of examples. At the solar facility, if it's established by Amoresco, they recently told us that they will be able to produce 11.42 million kilowatt hours at an estimated cost in the power purchase agreement of 5 cents per kilowatt hour. An estimated total cost then for that amount of electricity would be $571,000 in the first year. Tradition, our current SIUE energy consultant, told us they expect our commercial rate to go from 7.6 cents to 11.6 cents in June of this next year, which means if I buy that power, 11.4 million kilowatt hours at 11.6 cents, our power bill for that portion would be $1.3 million. So by putting in the solar fields, simply stated, in the first year, we would save on our electric power costs by $750,000. On the lifetime of this project, if the commercial rate stayed flat, we estimate that the total 25-year savings on our power bill will be about $18.5 million from this project. This project is the next step for us towards our SIUE's energy independence. We are building LEED buildings. We have 9 on campus now. We are revamping with LED lights. We are doing everything we can to keep our costs down. We'll be the sole users of this power from this solar facility, and we therefore will be able to avoid transmission charges because it'll be in our grid, not outside. And we will be able at peak load in the summertime to avoid, we estimate, about $1 million in upcharges when, through the MISO process, we have to pay high rates when there's high demand. So the energy produced and the reduced electric distribution costs will save us more than 50% of the current market price on the same amount of electricity. The project also supports sustainability for us, local solar businesses, jobs, and workforce development. And it locks us into a contract for 25 years as permitted under the Illinois Procurement Code. Dr. Minor and I recommend that we move forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
We'll begin with Finance Committee. Tedrick,
Yes.
Connolly,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Architecture and Design Committee, Connolly,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Simmons, Tedrick.
Yes, and the item is approved. Dr. Retzlaff, just a quick question. When I was reading the material, it said that at the end of the 25 years, the university has the option to take it over.
We do. We do. They will maintain it for 25 years. We have already increased the efficiency of the project by, even though we've not built it, because solar technology is getting better. They will add to it over time. It will be our determined choice, not mine. Probably I don't have another 25 years of service, right? I'm at 26 now. To keep it, or in the contract, it will also be, if we determine we no longer need it, they will remove it at their cost.
That's a win-win situation.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. We appreciate it.
No other business before the Finance Committee. We are adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Tedrick. The next meeting is the Architectural Design Committee meeting. Trustee Simmons could not be with us today, so I'm appointing Trustee Tedrick as Committee Chair Pro Tem. You may proceed.
First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the meeting held September 12, 2024. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Simmons, Connolly,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Tedrick.
Yes. And the motion passes. Item number 2 has already been approved, so we'll go to committee item 3. Is an informational report on campus master planning by SIUC. Vice Chancellor Simmons.
Thank you. Southern Illinois University Carbondale has chosen Canon Design and their team to lead the development of a comprehensive facilities master plan following a qualifications-based selection process. 6 firms responded with proposals, and we interviewed the 2 most qualified firms on campus. Canon Design was chosen because the firm and all of its partners have extensive experience in campus master planning in higher education in Illinois and across the entire United States. They demonstrated a thorough, comprehensive methodology for master planning and gave examples of how they engage students, faculty, staff, community, alumni, and campus leadership to create a master plan that will align with SIU's Imagine 2030 strategic pillars. The firm has most of the expertise in-house for master planning, and they bring in strong partners for other services such as engineering, cost estimating, site design, and transportation. Canon Design has a very robust facilities optimization strategy within their master planning proposal. This is a fundamental process for determining facilities use within the long-term master plan. Canon Design and their team also met the minority business participation goals outlined in SIU's evaluation criteria. Canon Design will lead the campus initiative over 12 months to engage key stakeholders in outlining SIU's needs for the future. The process will have 3 phases. 1, the discovery process, which includes campus investigation and engagement. 2, the development, which is the conceptual state where they are reviewing, evaluating, and refining the campus needs. And 3, delivery of the details and scenarios to arrive at a final master plan for SIU Carbondale. This master planning effort will consider the 5 strategic pillars and also examine these functional areas: right-sizing university facilities and infrastructure, determining space requirements, addressing academic needs, addressing research and innovation needs, housing and dining, student services, and DEI, enrollment planning, athletics, parking and public safety, assessing necessary building demolitions and remodels, and overall enhancement of the campus environment. The final plan will align with SIU sustainability goals and incorporate prior work completed with our consultant Brailsford and Dunleavy. The plan will also incorporate the recently completed School of Medicine's master facilities strategic document and their facilities condition assessments as well. We are currently working with Canon Design to identify scope, timeline, and pricing to submit to Dr. Stuckey for approval for our Board of Trustees Policy 6.B, Section 6.B. Overall, this master plan will serve as a critical roadmap to SIU's Carbondale's future, guiding the university forward and fulfilling its long-term vision as strategic objectives.
Any discussion, any questions for Vice Chancellor? Thank you for your report. Committee items 4 and 5 are informational reports regarding an update on the bidding process and award of contracts on the Tedrick Welcome Center and an update on the Touch of Nature building for the Carbondale campus. Vice Chancellor Kupchak, would you present, please?
Thank you, Trustee Tedrick. I will tell you, first of all, you come in this building, you look outside, what do you see? From the ashes of McAndrew, the McAndrew Stadium is rising, the Tedrick Welcome Center. I'm telling you what, how inspiring is that? So we're here to give you an update on the bidding process and award of contracts for the Tedrick Welcome Center. Just a quick, I'm going to read a quick statement, if that's okay. In October 2023, the SIU Foundation Board engaged Impact Strategies as the construction manager for the Tedrick Welcome Center, representing the foundation in all project phases. Impact has provided invaluable guidance in overseeing the design process, budgeting, planning, scheduling, and managing competitive bidding for the subcontractors. Their efforts led to the official notice to proceed with construction on August 15th, 2024, in time to prepare the project site for students returning for the fall semester. Impact implemented a well-structured bidding process, prioritizing participation from Southern Illinois-based trade contractors. Over 250 subcontractors were invited to bid on this transformative project for the foundation and the university community. On June 13th, 2024, a contractor pre-bid meeting was held on campus where Impact reviewed engagement in protocols and critical university requirements, including insurance, bonding, and other factors essential for project success. From the 80+ proposals received, Impact conducted thorough evaluations to identify the most cost-effective and qualified trade contractors, ensuring alignment with the project's schedule, quality, control standards, safety, and risk mitigation goals. Additionally, a successful pre-job meeting was held with the Egyptian Building and Construction Trade Councils in accordance with the project labor agreement governing campus work. I had the great honor of giving an introduction of the project. I told them it was game day, and I got a lot of blank looks as they looked at me and thinking, what the heck was I talking about? But it was game day, and it continued to be with the construction of the Tedrick Welcome Center. All selected trade contractors have now been awarded contracts with performance and payment bonds secured by the foundation's benefit. Currently, the project is on track to meet its anticipated timeline with substantial completion estimated by May 1st, 2026, 18 months away. It's been a pleasure working with our FEM folks, Mark and Carol, with Luke, and Doug and the University Council to make this all happen. So Trustee Tedrick, that's an informational update on that project.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next one we'll jump right into is an update on the new proposed building, the Wildlife Habitat Education Center. Here we go. We've got 3 slides. I want to do a quick shout out to Brian Croft back in the audience. Brian is the director of the Touch of Nature and does an incredible job and is an inspiring leader. And this will become the nation's premier outdoor education center in this country. It's phenomenal what's going on. Here's a new project. We came to you about a year ago. If we could go to the next slide. with this, and we want to give you an update. We've slightly changed some of the purpose of the meeting. As you can see, we've removed the indoor rock climbing wall and indoor archery range. That is now taken from the project. Since this is a substantial change, we needed to come back to you as an information. The good news is we have the donor. You can see it cost us $3 million. The donor will provide an additional endowment of $2 million. And I think, Brian, this is really going to add to the offerings of Tough to Nature. You got anything you want to comment on that?
You're doing great.
Okay, then next slide, just to give you some context. Right now, we've completed the SIU credit union. It's called the Trailhead. It's building. And across the street from that will be the new Wildlife Habitat Education Center. We have great signage coming onto this, and we expect this to bring over 250,000 visitors to our area each and every year through the Touch of Nature. So any questions, Trustee Tedrick?
Anybody? Thank you.
Okay. Final thing, Trustee Tedrick, is an exciting gift opportunity announcement. We need approval from you. This comes from the Gowers. It's a gift, and it's going to be to name the McClafferty Annex the Gower Translational Research Center. If you don't mind, Trustee Tedrick, I would like to read a few comments about the Gowers. You have it in your packets, but Bob Gower is a West Frankfurt native, graduated from SIU with bachelor's and master's degrees in chemistry in 58 and 60, respectfully. He met his wife, Beth, while both were studying at SIU. Beth graduated in 61. Dr. Gower earned his PhD from the University of Minnesota. A true Saluki love story here. They got engaged, they got married, they went to their honeymoon at the DuQuoin State Fair. And the next day they had to return to campus because school was starting. That is a committed students right there. So just a great story. Dr. Gower began his career as a research scientist, eventually rising to senior vice president of Atlantic Richfield Company. In '85, he became the chief executive officer of Lyondell Petrochemical, leading an effort at a time that had the world's largest IPO. How about that? He led that effort, the world's largest IPO at the time. This led to LyondellBasell becoming one of the world's largest plastics, chemicals, and refining companies in the world. He's created other startups, Carbon Nanotechnologies. In 2008, he founded Enscience Biosciences, a biotech company that develops tamper-proof and abuse-persistent prescription drugs. He serves as chairman of the board. The Gowers have been generous donors to Southern for many years. They established the Bob and Mary Beth Gower Scholarship Endowment in the SIU Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry, which has benefited more than 50 years with the Gower Fellow. It's incredible the lives and the trajectory of the lives they've changed with their generosity. Dr. Gower is a two-time recipient of the SIU Alumni Achievement Award from the College of Science. He's a distinguished alumnus of the college and was inducted in the Chemistry and Biochemistry Hall of Fame in 1997. He served as a member of the steering committee for the university's Opportunity Through Excellence campaign, which raised $106 million at the time. Just to note, we have blown by that, and we're at $370 million in our current campaign, the Imagine SIU in 2030 campaign. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Award from the university in 2018. The Gowers reside in Houston, have 3 adult and very successful daughters, Allison, Rachel, and Morgan. And I think they may be watching us live today, so a shout out to them and to the Gower family for their generosity. Chancellor Lane and Susan Graham and I have had the opportunity to spend a considerable time with them, and this is a truly remarkable Saluki family. So today, the Gowers have committed $2.5 million to advance the mission and support the research activities taking place across the campus. That gift would go to support the activities over at McClafferty, formerly known as the McClafferty Annex, if you approve the naming today. which, as we all know, that was built in 2007. It's a 65,000 square foot facility. Originally was stored the library materials of Morris Library, but now it's transformed into a hub of research and innovation. And just this past October, we dedicated the $7.2 million bio-launch lab on the center. This 10,000 square foot space is dedicated to life science research and more. The impact of Bob and Beth Gower has been felt by Southern University Carbondale students and faculty for years. And now the Gower name will be forever imprinted in the university's future at the Gower Translational Research Center. So Trustee Tedrick, we ask, I guess we need a motion
Yep.
To approve the name.
This is committee item number 6 and agenda item X. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Simmons, Connolly,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Tedrick.
Yes. And the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Tedrick, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, Mr. Kupik paid a visit to me in Benton at the courthouse and gave him a tour, including the U.S. Marshal gave him a tour of his area, which included Mr. Kupik went into to the holding cells that we use. When Chancellor Lane heard about that, he was amazed that they let him out.
I've got my representative, Chief Newman, back here who will vouch for me. I have a clean record. So, I will tell you, it was an amazing experience to be with Judge Gilbert, who is big time to be over there. Made us really proud, Judge, of all you've done for all of us and the community you serve. Just incredible stuff.
Well, thank you for what you do for us.
Okay, committee items 7 and 8 include a project and budget approval and an approval to grant a permanent right-of-way for the SIU School of Medicine. Dean Cruz.
Yes, item 7 is tab Y. This is a clarification and revision of previous action of the board. At the meeting held September 12th, 2024, the board approved the acquisition of what? Is it the other way around?
T, Y is, board agenda item Y is the project and budget approval for the Simmons Cancer Institute Infusion Treatment Center.
Oh, I did that already.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
That's not the
But
way
we
I
said
got it.
T and U, but that's board agenda item Y. We'll discuss the Simmons Cancer.
So which am I supposed to be doing now?
Board agenda item Y and Z.
Just do it again.
Yeah.
With the
We'll need to
Simmons
vote on
Cancer?
it.
Sorry about the mix-up on these. So this is for interior renovation and building of a second infusion center at the Simmons Cancer Institute, renovation of existing shelf space. It's for the total cost of the project, furniture, medical equipment, computers, and everything, $2 million non-appropriated.
Okay, you want to move to item Z, agenda item Z.
Which one is that?
Grant permanent right.
Permanent right-of-way. Okay, this matter seeks approval to grant a permanent right-of-way to the city of Springfield for development of Bradfordton Road. So the board previously approved the acquisition of about 9 acres of undeveloped land at this location, which contemplated the construction of a new road and signals at Wabash Avenue. The construction of this road will allow for future construction of a medical office building for use in clinical and teaching programs at the School of Medicine, easy access for people of Springfield and the rural areas to the south and to the west. It's just an access issue, road access issue.
Has the city agreed to build the road?
Yes, they have.
They have.
Right.
Okay. Any questions? Any discussion? Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary?
Simmons, Connolly.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Tedrick.
Yes. There's no other business before the A&D committee. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Trustee Tedrick. We will now take about a 10-minute recess before the full meeting begins about 10:30, 10:35.
Appreciate it.
I got a little birdie told me this was compliments and yeah.
Okay, welcome to the Illinois University Board of Trustees Full Board Meeting. I will call the meeting to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Connolly. Curtis.
Present.
Gilbert.
Present.
Hightower. Salger. Sharma.
Present.
Simmons. Tedrick.
Present.
Quorum has been established. The next item of business is approval of the minutes of the meeting of the board held September 11th and 12th, 2024, as well as the minutes of the executive session held September 11th, 2024, and release of executive session excerpts of April through July 2024. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Keith, please call the roll.
Connolly.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Hightower. Salger. Yes. Sharma.
Yes.
Simmons. Tedrick.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. I do not think there are any trustee reports, so the next is the committee reports. I will report the executive committee has not met between board meetings. At regular board meetings, 30 minutes will be reserved to receive comments or questions from members of the public and employees of the university. Speakers' comments or questions should not exceed 5 minutes. Persons wishing to speak shall contact the executive secretary of the board. The executive secretary of the board shall maintain a roster of those seeking to speak and shall call the speakers in order. Madam Secretary, do we have any speakers today?
We do have a speaker, Father Brown.
Father Brown, you're on deck. Is that, we have that mic working again now or? Okay.
I think we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I found out that Reginald Petty was going to be nominated for an honorary degree, in a moment of silence, his mother and my mother told me, you better say something. They went to high school together in East St. Louis. So I have a few remarks that I just want to read for you. And some of them will echo and be in harmony with the nominating letter that Chancellor Lane read. But that's the way it ought to be. If it's important, you can hear it more than once. Our mothers were classmates in high school in East St. Louis and were taught by another legend, Daisy Westbrook, one of the witnesses of the 1917 East St. Louis pogrom. Reginald Petty has carried that legacy with him everywhere. One of the great directives handed on to generations of children in East St. Louis was get all the education you can. Another directive was do good for others and make the world a better place. Reginald Petty attended briefly the University of Illinois, the University of Chicago, and received both his undergraduate and master's degrees from Southern Illinois University. He got all the education he could. And then he commenced practicing the second directive. In each stage of his social development, he learned and he made lifelong character-changing friends. From helping to establish an early Jobs Corps center in Kentucky, to becoming a Peace Corps volunteer in Africa, to putting his life in danger while engaged in the voter registration efforts in Mississippi, to working as a trainer consultant for the VISTA program, and returning to the Peace Corps as a regional coordinator in East Africa. Reginald Petty learned, grew in wisdom and in grace, and helped countless others do the same. Wherever he goes, Reginald Petty revives the downtrodden and abandoned and neglected.
Rescuing books from the public library in East St. Louis is symbolic of how he has spent a lifetime rescuing dreams and youthful desires and aspirations in the hearts of his friends. He is a teacher by word, by example, and by calling. It could not be otherwise. He has built places where children could dream, where friends could be safe, and where anyone and any who were thirsting to remember why they had loved the city of East St. Louis, no matter what, could decide, if Reginald can do it, I guess I can try once more. His efforts to help found the East St. Louis Historical Society, his unparalleled contributions to the work of the 1917 East St. Louis Centennial Commission, and his unwavering determination to see what he planted in the cultures where he has lived be brought to fruition and harvest. He has never been anything less than a light shining in the darkness. I would like to provide now a litany of the blessed, some of the names of those who have been or continue to be friends. Bonded with Reginald Petty, Malcolm X, John Lewis, Eugene Redmond, Alice Wyndham, legendary theater artist Barbara Ann Tier, Dick Gregory, former United Nations Ambassador Donald McHenry, Angela Davis, Eldridge Cleaver, Stokely Carmichael, Catherine Dunham, Dr. James Prosser, Harry Edwards, U.S. Senator Richard Durbin. There could be many more names, such as Daniel Mahoney, Austin Lane, and James Minor. Some of those names, some of those whose names could be added to the list will be the very young who still find a way into his gaze, his voice, his stories, and his dreams.
Thank you, Father Brown, and I'm sure this is a well-deserved recognition that he will receive. Well, that'll be at the May commencement. Father Brown, you know that you are one of my favorite people. And if you remember a year ago, I put you in charge of the weather at the eclipse. And guess what happened? It was a bright sunny day. Now, I got another task for you. I woke up this morning, it was 22 degrees and the wind chill was in the single digits. Can you do something about raising the temperature outside? Okay, thank you. Any other speakers today? Okay. Our next item of business, Executive Officer's Report. Dean Cruz, I know you have to catch a plane, so if you want to go first or present your report for the School of Medicine.
Thanks very much. My report today is going to focus on our federally qualified health center at the SIU School of Medicine. And I'd first like to announce that Iris Wesley, the founding CEO of the SIU Federally Qualified Health Center, in November received the Danny K. Davis Achievement Award from the Illinois Primary Healthcare Association. It's the IPHCA's most prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award and named for longtime Congressman Danny Davis, who was a lifelong advocate of health equity. And after he finished his term in Congress, became the president of the National Association of Community Health Centers. So just so you know, FQHCs, CHCs, Federally Qualified Health Centers, Community Health Centers, it's the same term, as a matter of fact. So the criteria for this award that Iris won: outstanding service for this movement for at least 10 years, going above and beyond the call of duty to further healthcare access for those in need, and dedication, selflessness, and inspiration as a leader. I knew Iris from the very beginning at SIU, probably more than anyone else in the organization. She embodies the four elements of the SIU Triple Aim +1. Everything she does is more effective, more efficient, more equitable, and I'll tell you, more enjoyable. She will put a smile on your face. And so what I'm going to do now is go through some of the achievements that have occurred at the FQHC so you understand why she won that award. And I'm going to do this in the form that we've already established today, in the form of IBHE goals. So I'm going to do these three up here. I'm going to do growth first, the geography and the clinical practice, then equity, and then the sustainability labs. So the SIU FQHC is the largest FQHC in the country that is the sponsor of residents and the employer of all of the faculty, staff, and administrative professionals, the largest single FQHC. It has 17 sites in 9 communities, and it's grown that big since it was established in 2012. And here are all of the programs. So educational sites, 5 residencies with 99 residents, 3 fellowships with 4 fellows. The 99 residents who are under the sponsorship of the SIU School of Medicine makes SIU the 2nd largest family medicine residency operation in the United States, behind the University of California at San Francisco. You can read all of these things. Clinical sites, FQHC, 17 sites in 9 communities. If you look at the very bottom line there are 5 clinical sites that are not part of the FQHC, probably because of geography or other factors, but that makes a total of 22 sites. And then there's another educational site as well, our Alton site, and we work through the SIHF FQHC for that one. Growth. So since the FQHC started in 2012, here are the sites that have been added. I'm going to read the things that are bolded there because those are the communities and the counties affected. Springfield, Quincy, Jacksonville, Lincoln, Decatur, Adams County Health Department, Sangamon County Health Department, Carbondale, Taylorville, Pike County Health Department, and still growing. Almost every year since 2015. We missed 2022, but it takes a couple of years to plan these things. It's hard to plan during the pandemic, I'd say, for that one. The growth, amazing growth in a lot of ways. Before FQHC status to now, departmental budget tripled. Faculty members more than doubled. Resident physicians increased by 23. Well, look at other clinical professionals and think about team-based care and dental medicine and behavioral health. If you look at that asterisk down at the bottom, other clinical professionals, 10 to 62, 31 PAs and nurse practitioners, 21 counselors, behavioral health care professionals, 6 pharmacists, 3 dietitians, and acupuncturists. Oh my gosh, I left the dentists out. Okay, well, they're in there too. Enabling services, 26 added, 3 peer support specialists, and 23 community health workers. Pretty amazing. Clinical sites up by 10, office visits almost double. Equity, close gaps for students or patients who have been left behind. The things in the light gray are things that have been there for some time. Primary care, usual source of comprehensive longitudinal care. Health insurance, the ACA expansion, probably the greatest factor that we've had in the School of Medicine at reaching more people with the insurance that they need and helping get beyond the mistrust that they might have and get the security that they need for that insurance. Finding the high risk, highly vulnerable populations and doing something about it. Out of that grew the community health workers and neighborhood assessments. And I mentioned before, our gender equity clinic. Now, in the bold at the bottom is the newest thing. Through the Department of Health and Human Services, through which the funding for FQHCs come, we have an addiction medicine fellowship that will start July 1st, 2025, with 2 fellows per year. I think most of you know that this is a very important area for all of the United States and for rural Illinois in particular. And so in addition to our the clinics that we already have and the training that we have in our faculty, we're officially going to train 2 more people per year who will be certified in addiction medicine. That's the first in the system for sure. And then sustainability partnerships. I mentioned before that this is part of SIU School of Medicine strategy. We have obviously excellent hospital partners for our FQHC in Carbondale with Southern Illinois Healthcare and in Quincy with the Blessing Health System. But I do want to mention the importance of the ongoing partnerships that we have to make these things possible. So I remember the day in 1996, I think it was 1996, that I was part of a meeting where Memorial Health System articulated a new strategy, a new engagement, a new community engagement, and brought in to a greater degree the SIU School of Medicine and the Department of Family and Community Medicine. That strategy has not wavered over the last 30 years and has made things like this FQHC possible. It allowed us to get the center. And then once we had the new partnership with the governmental agency, the Department of Health and Human Services has opened up a whole cornucopia of grants and other things that we can access to make all of those programs happen. And we just hope that the partnership with the HHS and continue. And that's it. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dean Cruz. Chancellor Lane, your report for Carbondale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we could pull up. Thank you. Pull it up. I do want to start off by really thanking and acknowledging Dean Cruz. I probably don't do that enough, but he is the most passionate dean, the most student-centered dean that I've worked with in my years. And obviously tell that. So Dean Cruz, thanks to you and your staff. You guys do an incredible job in Springfield. You know, my report, I promise I won't be too long here. As you know, in the fall, and this really begins back in July and works its way all the way through December, and then obviously into December, January, our efforts, and I'll talk today, are focused just squarely on enrollment, right? In terms of how many folks can we touch in our region, outside of our region, outside of our state, to really make sure that we do the best job we can in recruiting the best and brightest SIU Carbondale. And I want to give you a sense, and you'll see some pictures here. There's a lot of folks that make this happen. Our admissions folks, registrar, our enrollment management folks, our faculty, our staff, our students, our constituency councils, who I'll talk about a little later in this presentation. These folks are in every corner of the 17 counties in Southern Illinois. They're in the state with our Saluki takeovers. We've got folks that come out of their offices and they go to these events. They go to high schools. They interact with superintendents, principals, counselors, you name it. I mean, we are working like crazy to be a first choice university for students, not only in our region, but across our state. So I just want to make sure that you see these efforts that are happening, and we'll use this time to thank people, mostly in this presentation. This is part of our Saluki Step Ahead Agreement. You've heard a little bit about this with our provost, and I've talked about this before. This is another ink to John Wood Community College and Parkland College. I think now we've got maybe 47 of the 48 community colleges locked in. And that's a big piece for us as we start to see other, universities really targeting community colleges. We started that work 3-4 years ago. We felt it was important. We knew that population needed to transfer, and so we're squarely focused on that, and that's in our state. A lot of work that's being done though locally, and this is getting a lot of attention. Johnny Logan just had a mascot change, so we thought it would be fun to make sure when we talk about those seamless pathways from Logan to become a volunteer to become a Saluki, that we do an even better job in making sure that we bridge those gaps and that we get students to really understand that they can start at Logan but they can finish with us. I did not mention this earlier, but I do want to give you some numbers as we go through with those visits. 385 high school visits, that's between July and today. 179 community college visits, 41 on-campus visits. That's all the tours and the events that we have here. SIU Day, we had 900 plus students from the 24 Southern Illinois high schools that we target. SIU Education Day, 300 plus students. You saw the video in there with FFA, Susan Graham, still there, Susan. Susan brings us over 300 plus students, FFA students, right here in our own backyard. They come to our campus, they get to go out on the university farms, and they have a great experience out there. They see the equipment and things that we have, and they're blown away. Our SIU Aviation Career Day is 130 plus students. Community College Conference, we host 45 advisors, transfer coordinators by design, right? We want to make sure those advisors know how seamless they can get their students from those community colleges to us. I host the superintendent, principal, counselor breakfast. We had over 27 people attend that. It gives us a chance, as you heard our provost talk about with our Say Yes campaign. We don't want to do any more of this career college night, and we have a table that's old fashioned. We want to be inside the schools and already have the list of students that are eligible to 2.75 that we can admit. It's really a waste of time sometimes going on those college nights because you don't get the traction that you want. So we got a different approach when we're inside right there with students getting the information that we need. 433, I mentioned that earlier, 2 open houses, again, that went very well here. So a lot of activity that's happening in that space. You also saw a slide earlier where we showed you a state map and then some states that were outside, obviously, of Illinois. In Texas was one of those places. And so we felt like Lone Star, being the largest community college system in Texas, gives us the best chance for transferability, students coming from that institution to ours and doing it through the SIU Step Ahead piece, never having come in Carbondale. That's been very catchy. When we talk about no out-of-state tuition in Texas, it really puts us in a great position in the eyes of the students. You can see their eyes pop out when they hear no out-of-state tuition, because it gives us a chance to be very competitive with the other R1 and R2 universities in Texas. So we're getting some traction there, and that program we expect to take off even more. So a lot of work. We do have an advising office that's there that we lease. We have a presence that's in that area. We do the same at Dallas College. That's probably one of the 3rd largest community college systems in the Texas area, and so we'll continue. We just wrapped up a Houston takeover, or Saluki takeover tour, and also the Dallas Saluki takeover tour. Thanks to Matt Kupek, the foundation. Great attendance at those events overall. We're really excited about that. A lot of Salukis in Texas, right? They didn't all go to Florida, so they're actually down in warm Texas as well. So it's good to interact with them a couple of weeks ago, and they showed out. This is what we celebrated actually in this ballroom. In the month of November and December, we give a lot of thanks. And as you can see, this is phenomenal. We had 279 service awards. These folks gave us 4,875 years of service. Talk about being at one university for 25, 30 years. That's unheard of. And we've got employees that were right here at SIU Carbondale that have been there. They've been here the entire time. And they're still smiling. Some of them are a little grumpy, but for the most part, they're still smiling, happy to be here. We've got some folks who are retiring as well. What I thought was really neat, you all know Matt Ballman. Matt was at this event, and I've never seen a chief of staff ever get a standing ovation, right? Because usually they're kind of the bad guy. They have to be the bad guy. And for him to get a standing ovation at this event was incredible. So really appreciated honoring the service that has taken place. Folks here just do an incredible job. We can't thank them enough as we continue to do these things. This is really how we stay connected and we stay grounded. And I don't think I've ever showed you this, but we have a lot of university constituency councils, and I have the pleasure of meeting with them every month. in some cases even more than monthly. And Jody does a great job in making sure it's on my schedule, but I get a chance to sit down and listen to these leaders that are here. And I tell you, they give me the best cheat sheet that I could ever have, because they tell me the temperature and the pulse on campus. They tell me, hey, this is going great, and hey, you may want to think about this. It's not going so great. And it really gives me a chance to go back to the cabinet and say, hey, we probably need to do something about this. So I do want to acknowledge that they're not all here, but I know Elizabeth Cheek is here. Elizabeth, if you could wave, I'm going to give her some kudos here, but Elizabeth does a great job of representing our civil service employees that are here. You all probably know Todd Bryson, who represents our administrative and professional group that's there. You've seen Dr. Lee at a number of these meetings come and present as our faculty senate president. The picture on the lower left is something we just started. We're happy to meet with not only our faculty senate president, but our faculty senators. We have a nice little round table meeting there where we just have some real informal discussions. There's no agenda. It's just us talking about what we're doing to move the university forward. That's always helpful, again, to have that feedback. And then on the right side, you see some of the, obviously, graduate council, graduate professional student council. But I want to draw your attention to the councils that we just established over the last 2-3 years. Hispanic, Latinx Faculty Staff Council. That's a council that we started here about 3 years ago with the help of J.P. Reed and Ron Lopez. Our LGBTQ council that's recognized now. Priscilla does a great job in leading that group. We also, you won't see it on here, our Asian American Pacific Islander Council is actually on the left side, Asian Faculty Staff Council. And then our Black Faculty Staff Council. All of those are recognized voices within the university that we were able to get recognized. So again, they have a voice and they're in constant communication with us as we go about the work of the university. So I want to thank them, and shared governance is alive and well because of those groups. This is an award that we've been chasing Chancellor Minor and SIU for a couple of years. And we finally got it, right? We finally caught up with them. I want to thank Dr. Frazier and Dr. Caldwell over there as well. And they're responsible for this. But this is our lead award. Just received the plaque and all the information that's there. We're going to publicly display that. This is important when we're on the recruiting trail. You know, we really want to talk about the importance or the commitment to the diversity that's happening on this campus. As you know, it's not happening all over country. It is here at Southern Illinois University of Carbondale, and we're really proud of that. So it's something, again, as I said, we will really make sure that we honor this particular award. I want to highlight someone who's in the audience today, and if you could stand, and this is Justin, are you out there? I want to take, yeah, Justin, come on up just for a second, and I promise this will be quick. This is an award that means a lot to SIU Carbondale. We just were recognized for Best for Vets in 2024 Military Times. Again, I can't tell you for the region that we serve how important this award is. We go a step further with this piece. So Justin has done some research and has received different research grants out there to really, and I'm gonna have him tell you about it very quickly, that really help support our veterans and folks that are here. Justin, could you just talk very briefly about what the work that you're doing, the research you're conducting?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be here today and talk, and appreciate the recognition. And I thank you, SIU, for the opportunity to have a position where I can make an impact in the veteran community in Southern Illinois, particularly around social determinants of health and rural health. I have a National Science Foundation grant right now for a few years, and we'll be working with veterans in Southern Illinois to help them transition back into civilian life.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate his efforts. You know, that for us, as I mentioned, when we recruit students and alums and service folks that serve our country, really are pleased with that, and even more pleased with our Best for Vets designation. So really excited. We ranked #1 in Illinois, and 557 among 304 schools in the nation. So that's a very big accomplishment. The final slide that I have here is what we all, and why we're all here in the work that we do. And that's a big congratulations to our graduates that are going to be leaving us. December 14th is our commencement date. We're looking forward to that. Very excited. You see on the bottom right there, the youngest is 19. I don't know who that is, but we're going to find out because they've been getting after it. And the oldest is 72. And when we say that commencement, we always get this big round of applause, because that's pretty exciting number to see. 1,500 plus graduates. So just as some graduate students, as I mentioned in the first half of the presentation, we've got to recruit more students to bring them in, but our students come from all over. So it's really refreshing for this event, and we're excited about it on December 14th. So just want to thank all of our folks here on campus for the work they've been doing. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chancellor Wayne. Chancellor Minor.
Thank you, Chair Gilbert. Just a few updates from SIUE this morning. I'll try to move very quickly. The first update is about homecoming and family weekend. And maybe you asked the question, why did we make the decision to talk about this as a first update? Chair Gilbert, a few years ago, when I moved into this role, I would meet SIUE alumni all across the region. And they would tell me how much they benefited from attending SIUE. Some of them would say to me that they sat in the back of the classroom while their parents attended. Some of them remark about remembering when it was 5 buildings in the parking lot, but all of them had very fond memories and really good things to say about the university. I learned to ask a second question, which was, well, when's the last time you've been back to campus? And they would start to look away. The light fixture became more interesting in the room. And it was because a lot of them had not taken the opportunity to return to campus. I asked this question during an event, and finally one alumnus said to me, well, you know, I really hadn't had a reason to come back. And that was very sobering. I went back to our alumni association and our foundation team and asked about how many opportunities across any given year we give alumni an opportunity to come back to celebrate the university or their time in the university. The most obvious event would have been homecoming. But we didn't have a real strong tradition without a American football team on the field in the fall. No one knew exactly what homecoming was. Who was it for? Was it for students? Was it for alumni? Was it for former soccer players? And so I want to give credit to our alumni association, our foundation team, who took the challenge to define homecoming and really make it something special for our alumni. So the video that you will see here just gives you a sense of all of the activities that take place over homecoming week. The two things that I would say that are most notable is that homecoming is now homecoming and family weekend. So you think about the first year students who arrive in August, and by October, their homesickness, we almost have it down to a science, right? How many days, Paula, before they're really homesick? And so for homecoming, we also take the opportunity to invite the parents of our first year students back for that weekend. The second thing that I would mention as notable is that this past fall, this October, we experienced record attendance for the 5K run, walk at the soccer stadium, at other events across our campus with more than 30 regional sponsors. I think it is fairly safe to say that it's the best homecoming in our history. Now that is an unofficial statement. Two graduates who earned degrees in the 60s, who still live in the Edwardsville area, both pulled me aside and said, I've been coming here for a very long time, and this is the best homecoming that I've ever participated in. So this is about alumni engagement and community engagement, not necessarily homecoming in the traditional sense. The second update I would offer to you is about the university's responsibility to teach students about democracy. It's not about the election. It's not about a political party. I want to take you back a few short months ago before the election. Among campus leaders all across the country, there was a fair bit of concern about fallout associated with the election and how students would respond no matter the outcome. We took a fairly proactive approach, thanks to Dr. Harris, the provost, and others in the room, to really lay out educational and engagement opportunities for our students to talk about how they will choose to participate in our democracy. It is no surprise that most of our students were voting, many of them for the first time in their lives. The overwhelming majority of them for the first time in the presidential election, for sure. We partner with Campus to Congress, two former members of Congress, one Republican, one Democrat, who are dispatched to your campus for 3 days of programming, and they appear together to talk through a range of issues, what it means to be a politician, how to start a political career, how to think about elections. The most interesting aspect of the conversation for me, I think, over the course of these 3 days was really about where students find credible information. So you imagine in a room like this with students, we ask the question, where do you get credible, reliable information? The number one answer was TikTok. Very interesting. And so this generational bridge building, if you will, politically was very important for our students deciding how they're going to participate in our democracy going forward. The next slide I'll share is on Give Kids a Smile Day. Now, if you've been on the board, you've seen this before. Each year, the School of Dental Medicine in Alton sponsors Give Kids a Smile Day. It is an opportunity for families in our region to arrive and receive free dental care from our clinic. And each year it's north of $100,000 of services that we're providing for community members. The reason I like to keep this slide in our deck is I go over, I don't spend as much time in the clinic when the patients go back. The waiting area for Give Kids a Smile Day is in another location with some educational programming, but this is where the parents are waiting. And so I take the opportunity to ask the parents, how did you find out about the clinic? How far did you have to travel here? How many children do you have here? And every single year I hear a story, a testimony from a parent that reminds me of why this opportunity is so important. This year, it happened to be a mother who has a student with special needs and said to me that this was the only opportunity, the only clinic in driving distance that A, would see her child, and B, that she could actually accommodate, right, the cost of the service because it was free. And our dean and the SDM staff do a wonderful job of doing more than providing the dental care. They also provide educational services. For the first time this year, we also had the SIU School of Nursing with the mobile clinic, which was also on site. So a family could receive free dental service. They could walk right outside into the mobile clinic and also satisfy the physical exam requirement to register for school, which was a great need in our community. So I just want to highlight this when I talk about SIUE being at the epicenter of everything that's happening in the region. We take very seriously about being a resource to people in our community. Next slide, I'll share quickly in the theme of connecting SIUE to our local communities. Back in September of 23, maybe it was Dr. Bill brought a board item enthusiastically for approval that would that involved a parcel of land for Madison County Transit to use to create what is now known as the Yellowhammer Connector. The Yellowhammer Connector connects the MCT, the Madison County Transit Goshen Trail, to the SIUE Delight Morris Trail. Now, one of the assets for SIUE is its natural beauty. Lots of people opine about how beautiful the trails are. I underestimated how many people would be excited about this connector. And so I didn't get much information prior to going out to this event, but the number of community members who were there who were grateful that SIUE now has a connector that connects our campus to our community with this bike trail was a really phenomenal moment. In the photograph you see is the executive director of Madison County Transit, S.J. Morrison, who also happens to be an alderman in the city council at Edwardsville and SIUE alumnus, Representative Katie Stewart, Representative Amy Ellick, State Senator Erica Harris, who is also an SIUE alumna, and lots of other people from our community in this photo, including the faculty member I see here and members of the board for Madison County Transit. Really, Father Brown is gone, but Judge, we had exceptional weather that day for this opportunity. The picture doesn't.
We're gonna give him a big head. I'm glad he left.
Yeah, I know. I have to give him credit for that. But the picture doesn't do that day justice or how beautiful that trail is. So if you're in Edwardsville, I would encourage you to check out the Yellowhammer Connector. Next update quickly is just about the health sciences complex. Only two things to mention here. We had a topping ceremony not long ago. You'll see Senator Durbin, U.S. Senator Durbin had an opportunity to join us along with members from the School of Nursing and Pharmacy. You see the deans there. Two things I'll mention. The building is 45% complete. We're very excited about that. For those of you who've done capital. 54%. Is that an update since thank you, Dr. Bill. You can tell we take this seriously. For those of you who've had to manage construction projects, you know that being on time and on budget is not easy. And I do want to thank Dr. Bill and Craig Holland and the team and our partner Clayco for keeping this project on track. This will be a beautiful facility for School of Nursing and the School of Pharmacy. Last mention I'll make, we made this at the topping ceremony. It didn't occur to me, maybe until last year at the ribbon cutting, that our School of Pharmacy has never had a permanent home. Since the inception of the School of Pharmacy, they have been in temporary space. And we are really excited for them and the School of Nursing to have world-class teaching and learning space for pharmacy and nursing. Second to last slide I will share is the Wedge Innovation Center. This is in Alton, Illinois. I want you to pay special attention to what I believe is the official logo on the top left of the screen. I'm looking at the provost who is nodding. We believe that this is the moniker, if you will, that will appear on the building. The Wedge Innovation Center located in Alton is a 55,000 square foot building, 4 floors, that will be dedicated to social impact and high-tech business incubation. Again, our ambition at SIU is to be at the epicenter of everything that is happening in the region. We recently had a tour of the facility, which is expected to open this winter, which gives us until February to get to a ribbon cutting ceremony. You'll see the tour involve the governor, the mayor of the city of Alton. You'll see President Mahoney, Trustee Simmons, again, some of our elected officials, and the executive director for the Wedge Innovation Center, Emily Hemingway, pictured there. I want to just share with you, we had a conversation yesterday about AI, artificial intelligence. If you think about what goes into this building, the Wedge is a historic building. I think an actual photo of the building is lower right of the screen. You'll see why they call it the Wedge. SIUE will occupy a floor with GeoMark, the Center for Predictive Analytics, the Center for Sustainable Communities, along with the ability to offer educational programming. So that will roughly identify or describe SIUE's footprint in the building. Think about this. Also located in this building will be the Midwest AI Network, right? So we're going to be right at the epicenter of what's happening in the region with respect to artificial intelligence. Also Steakhouse, which is a venture capital and private equity firm, along with other startups that are going to be in this building sharing space. Now, during the tour, construction tour, the second floor wasn't quite finished. We'll have office space there. But again, the footprint for the university in Alton will expand, and we're really excited about that. Last slide. If you hear pride in my voice, it is genuine. Each year, the NCAA produces a report that measures graduation rates for student athletes across the country. It's referred to as the GSR, the graduation success rate. 2 years ago, I would have provided an update to the board that SIUE was #1 both in the state of Illinois and Missouri for public universities for graduating student athletes. The following year, we slipped. I was no longer able to go to podiums and say we're #1 in both the state of Illinois and Missouri among public universities for graduating student athletes. I challenged our team to return us to glory, if you will, mostly because we take seriously that our graduates cross the commencement stage. It is a point of pride for SIUE that our student athletes compete in between the lines and in the classroom, and they graduate. Let me just share, this year, the rankings were recently released, and SIUE is again #1 in the state of Illinois among public universities for graduating student athletes. I like to say we're also #1 in the state of Missouri. But there's more news. SIUE is #2 nationally among public universities for graduating student athletes, which is remarkable. Two things I'll share with you. There are 7, I believe, SIUE teams with perfect 100 scores. Baseball, golf, women's soccer, men's cross country, softball, women's tennis, and women's volleyball. Chancellor Lane, a self-imposed policy at SIUE is I don't get to talk to any of our athletic teams about sports, about competition. When I talk to them, it is about how things are going in the classroom and their career ambition. And it's just really remarkable to see them arrive to compete for sure, but also to have graduation on their mind. I want to conclude my report by just acknowledging the individuals who are responsible for supporting our student athletes, along with our faculty. Jackie DeClue, Ashley Beaton Simpson, and Lindsay Schmidt, a 3-person team who are primarily responsible for this remarkable accomplishment, and we're very proud. Thank you, Chair Gilbert. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Minor, and it's amazing what's happening on all the campuses, Carbondale and Edwardsville, and also the medical school. Thank you very much. President Mahoney.
Yeah, and I have just 2 updates. First will come from Vice President Sheila Caldwell about brief update on things going on in anti-racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So she'll start first.
But I want to take my time today to really share about grant initiative as well as the equity symposium. So we're going to kick this off with a video from Governor Pritzker as he introduced our video for our 3rd annual equity symposium.
Hello, this is Governor J.B. Pritzker, and I want to welcome you to the 3rd annual Illinois Higher Education Equity Symposium. I'm honored to kick off this important gathering of educational leaders and legislators and community partners from across our great state. We all know that earning a higher education credential can be one of the most critical steps in advancing a person's financial and social well-being. But for too long, educational equity gaps have persisted, preventing students, especially those from historically underrepresented groups, from fully accessing, completing, and benefiting from higher education. That's why this symposium is so crucial. Today and over the next 2 days, you will work together to disrupt those roadblocks, create sustainable equity strategies, and ensure every student in Illinois has the opportunity to thrive. Our mission is simple, but profound. Equity must be at the center of our educational system, from affordability and access to completion and career outcomes. To the leaders of Southern Illinois University, thank you for your work promoting inclusion and student success, which every day drives us closer to a thriving educational system for all Illinoisans. Enjoy the symposium, and I look forward to seeing the impact of your work in the months and years to come.
I said in a previous board meeting that it's very edifying to have the governor not only affirm the importance of equity work in higher education, but also to call others to action. We heard in the video that he defined equity as access, affordability, completion, as well as career advancement. And he also just talked about the importance of all students striving. And so in our symposium this year, that was really our focus, students thriving. And one of the ways that we were able to model that is to really augment the students' voice in this year's symposium. We had student panels from Asian Americans, Latinos, as well as African Americans. And I think that's important because in 2009, for example, the Illinois Board of Higher Education set a goal of 60% of either college degree completion or program credential for all of Illinois. And right now, Asian Americans are the only one who actually hit that target at 62%. When we look at white Americans in Illinois, it's about 40%. For African Americans, it's 22%. And for Latinos, Hispanic students is 16%. So we really wanted to actually learn from them, like what are the strategies that you employ in your communities and education to advance. We also invited Illinois State University to facilitate a keynote as well as to bring their students to talk about how Latino students thrive and also their cultural richness and academic brilliance. The Lumina Foundation was invited to talk about Native Americans as well as African American students. So this is, again, was one of the ways that we really wanted to have students talk about their experiences. We talked about Todd Wright earlier. He had an excellent question for our students. What made them persist even when they wanted to quit? And they actually talked about family influence. They talked about team members here at SIU that really pushed them. And also just knowing that education is really a passport to the future and not just a job. So that was beneficial as well. I do like to share direct feedback. I talked about students and us learning from them. So one of the comments for the student panels were exceptional and most moving in what was already an excellent conference. I can't wait to experience next year's symposium. President Mahoney and I talked about next year's symposium, and we're going to focus on men. For decades now, men have trailed behind women, and we want to actually talk about how we can attract and retain them in higher education. We heard the governor talk about career advancement, and we're going to talk about equity in careers. So that will be the focus of next year's symposium. Many of you may know that we hired Ms. Carol Samara, who is a SIU alumni undergraduate as well as SIU School of Law, and she serves as our Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act director for the system. Many of us have heard land acknowledgement statements, but she really talked about our commitment to Native Americans as well as projects. And the comments are very glowing. As you can see, it was the most powerful that I've witnessed. So that was very highlighting and illuminating to have her share. And we look forward to the work that she's doing. I really love participating this year. My first, I want to say that this year we had a record-breaking symposium, 20% more than last year. And then we also like to think about what could we do better in the future. So the last comment, thank you. I came with a lot to think about, but they like to see more faculty attendance and more students. So we definitely are committed to advancing diversity in our participation. I want to thank Chancellor Lane and Paul Frazier, Dr. Frazier, for their hospitality. This symposium was hosted on the Carbondale campus last year. Chancellor Minor and Dr. Harris on Eversville, and the first year was at Springfield. So we're just pleased that we've been able to make sure that this symposium moves throughout the community and everybody has an opportunity to really talk about equity in a meaningful way. It is important to gather people to have these critical conversations. One of the things that I also think is important, we developed the equity symposium. It was not just for SIU. For the past years, we've had 85% of public universities and community colleges participating in our symposium along with community partners, along with legislators. But we know that talk alone cannot achieve the work. So I'm just very pleased to say with the leadership of Dr. Elamine at the SIU School of Medicine, Dr. Harris, SIUE, as well as Dr. Frazier, we have secured $2.5 million in grants over the past few years. Starting with the Dick Durbin Center, that was a capital grant. I would love for you all to take a tour of that space. We now have an official equity professional development center on the first floor in the SIU School of Medicine. We have a board, we've had several meetings, we've created a vision, and we've crafted objectives as well as goals. So that is moving along. We heard Provost Todd earlier today talk about the Association for College and University Educators Grant. Again, this data was shared, but I want to talk about how part of this effort is to really advance professional development for our faculty members as we ask them to elevate student success for our underrepresented students. It is important that we thoroughly equip them to do so. So we started out with 122, now we have close to 200 faculty members who are receiving professional development and fostering belonging in the classroom, as well as creating inclusive learning and supportive environments. And so this is something that's ongoing, and now it's also spread to the Carbondale campus. So we're pleased with that effort. Near peer is another way we've been able to leverage grant funding to promote student belonging. This is a data point that I think is worth mentioning. According to campus safety data, 64% of students report lonely. I have a college freshman, and just about 2 weeks ago, she told me that she felt lonely at college. So unfortunately, she's among good company. But this particular platform is designed not to necessarily cure loneliness, but to help students connect with other peers. The way it works is students can go into this platform and actually speak about their interests. So I have found that one of the top interests for SIU students is dogs. They like dogs, they like to knit, they like to crochet, they like music. And what they do is they find other students that have those common interests. And if you look at the connections, we have close to 1,700 connections. This was targeted to our first year students. Transfer students have really taken advantage of this as they try to assimilate and become more comfortable with the university. And we've also used this platform to promote events like Transfer Student Week and First Gen Celebration. Another thing that we also are focused on is 51% of students promote, they report mental wellness challenges. So we're also elevating them and making sure that they access our career counseling services so they can advance in that area as well. Another way that we've been able to leverage the grant funding is to really secure expert faculty members to create videos that will scale our leadership certificate program. This program was developed 2 years ago. It's actually a 18 month to 2 year program. We've had about 17 students complete this certificate. And what they're learning is not just about inequities, but how to advance equity in areas such as economics and education, housing and healthcare, ageism, as well as the LGBTQIA community. So in addition to providing professional development for our faculty members, we also want to make sure our students benefit from this as well. And one of the things that's significant about this, in addition to our students having a degree, they're going to be able to show employers that I actually have knowledge and leadership skills, and I also am culturally competent. That's going to definitely give them a competitive advantage in the workforce. And then the last thing I want to say is even the $2.5 million has really helped us advance equity within our respective areas. But I think amazing byproduct is just how it's helped us fortify relationships, it's unified our efforts, and it's given us a clear focus. So other ways that we've leveraged the funding is for the first time this past spring, we created a system-wide retention day. Both campuses came together. We have about 75 team members there from SIU East, from SIU Carbondale. Chancellor Lane presented. We had data from SIU as well, and just really talked about what are some of our challenges, what are some of our opportunities, what are the strengths on each of our campuses, and how can we learn from one another. We were able to build on that with President Mahoney launching the Student Success Task Force. So we have the chancellors, we have the provost, we have key team members who are strategizing to advance student success and make sure that all of our students can graduate college, can have affordable education, and also career advancement. We mentioned the Equity Symposium as well. This year we also had legislators, again, we had community partners, our funders came, our technical supporters came. And so again, all these initiatives have really fortified our relationships. And I'm very pleased to see the collaborative efforts and how we're moving forward with student success. So that's my report today, and I welcome the questions you all have.
I will have to say, I'm just thinking, I came on the board in 2015, and it was kind of a dark area in the state and for higher education, and as well as the divisions between the two campuses. And where we are today and where we are then has been a sea change, a positive sea change, due to the system initiatives of President Mahoney, the excellent administrators that we have on both campuses, and it is just a breath of fresh air. And I can tell that Governor Pritzker is very happy with Illinois University. And thank you, Sheila, for all you are doing and have done. And we are truly a system, which has been our mission. And I cannot be more proud of the people we've had working for this university.
Yeah, and I think we see a lot of the things I talked about earlier of supporting all of our students in a variety of ways and helping them to be successful. And Dr. Caldwell is doing an excellent job working with the people on the campuses to come up with new ways to do that. So we're very happy with the work we're doing.
And the collaboration that didn't exist before is just amazing. And each of you should be very proud of the work you are doing, because our students are benefiting from this.
All right, next, I'm going to talk about the Illinois Commission on Equitable University Public University Funding. I have talked about this a little before, but I thought we're at a point, because legislation has been written, that you need a more comprehensive update on this. I think there'll be a lot of lobbying about this in the next several months. And so I thought this was a time to kind of take a step back and give you an overview of the model. Just as a background, as most people know, Illinois has used what we call a traditional base adjusted model for the last 50 years, which means every institution goes up or down by the same percentage, regardless of what their enrollment is, regardless of the demographics of that enrollment. It's interesting that seems to, everybody understands this. A lot of people still don't seem to understand this. We often have conversations about how some universities were advantaged over others because they were given some advantage by the state. That's simply not the case. Everybody was treated exactly the same way, and any advantage was frankly accidental, not intentional in any way. That being said, well, it sounds good, everybody's treated the same way. It's not a good financial model, and we clearly need a new financial model. In 2021, legislation was passed to establish the commission to look at how to develop a model. And we spent 3 years as I was a member of the commission as well as the technical working group that developed this new model. We've spent the last 3 months negotiating some items in that legislation. I expect this will be discussed during the spring session. So again, this is a good time to take a look at what's in the model, which we really haven't done to any great extent so far. So go to the next slide. So this basically outlines how the model works. And let me explain it in relatively quickly. Is what they decided to do first was establish what is the adequacy target for each institution. In other words, how much resources do we need to educate the students we have? I will say the basis for that was looking at what would it take to get to a 70% graduation rate. As you can think about that for a second, you can see already that it's very undergraduate focused. And I'll come back to that issue later, as opposed to graduate or medical school or professional schools where graduation rates is not a big issue. That's really an undergraduate issue. Within that, there's 3 different categories: money for instructional and student success, money related to mission, including research and community service and artistry, and then operations and maintenance. I should point out this is more for general operations and maintenance, not to address our $1.6 billion of deferred maintenance. That was not examined at all with the model. What they then did is look at the resources we have, and then kind of taking the resources we have away from the adequacy target. Well, what is our adequacy gap? So what resources do we need to actually hit this adequacy target? So I'll look at the resource profile real quickly and point out a couple areas where we have some very significant concerns. I will say overall, I like this approach. I think this idea of establishing an adequacy target, looking at the resources we have, and then what resources we need makes sense. And it's very different than most states that use performance-based models. While that sounds like a good model, performance-based model, it tends to advantage the schools that are already advantaged. Those with the most affluent student population, those with the most resources tend to do better in those performance-based models. This one really is an equity-focused model, and I think is a better approach in general. But again, there are some concerns. When we look at the resource profile, at the bottom is current state appropriations. That's clear, that's easy, that's the money we have from the state based on the appropriations we're getting today. That makes sense. At the top is other resources. What is in the other resources almost entirely is endowment earnings. What they said was, okay, you have an endowment, and most universities will spend about 4.25% on average of their endowment on scholarships or whatever their endowment was designed to support. And so we're going to count that towards the resources you have. 2 major problems with this. Number one, it's treating restricted dollars, and those endowment dollars are restricted, as the same as unrestricted state dollars. They're vastly different. The second problem is, how do I convince a donor to give us money if all it does is reduce the amount of money we get from the state going forward? It basically will kill fundraising. I will say of the university presidents and chancellors, we are unanimous in being against this part of the formula. Despite that, it has stayed in the formula for the last couple of years. So from the moment this was introduced, we were against it. We have argued against it consistently. It's still there in the legislation as of today. So we are still fighting this endowment battle. So that's one problem. That affects both of our institutions to some extent. What I'll show you in a second is our adequacy gap. It's not a massive impact, but it is, I think for Carbondale, maybe about $8 million or so changes, and it will change what our adequacy gap is. The bigger kind of financial issue is the equitable student share. What they did was they used very much what was done with the K-12 model. And in the K-12 model, if you think about it, it's either coming from the state or it's coming from property taxes. And what they said at the K-12 model was, well, the more affluent communities really can cover more of the cost with property taxes than the less affluent communities. So we're going to look at what's the equitable share that should come from the local community versus the state. And the state will need to support those communities with less resources. They try to do the same thing for us. and said, well, what should come from tuition versus what should come from the state? And what really should come from what they call the equitable student share is trying to estimate what should come from the students. The problem is that does not make any sense in our reality. For example, both of our institutions have various forms of the SIU commitment, which says students in the lowest income brackets are not paying anything in tuition. But this is kind of assuming they are. And it's trying to come up with some estimate of what, again, they should be able to provide. It also assumes that all of our doctoral students are paying the full cost of tuition. And tuition waivers don't exist for doctoral students, which if you know anything about higher education, ignores reality. And so what I have argued over the last year is that they really should be looking at net tuition revenue. That's the resources we actually have available. This is a hypothetical made up number that doesn't match our reality. I will say I started arguing this before I did the math for us, but with the help of some of our finance people, I've now done the math. This changes our allocation by about $75 million for the SIU system. So we're being underfunded in the model as it is by about $75 million because you're using equitable student share as opposed to net tuition revenue. In other words, it's way overestimating how much money we are getting from student tuition. For Carbondale, it's about 40 million. For Edwardsville, it's about 29 million. For the school of medicine, about another 4 or 5 million. So that's a huge issue. So those two issues alone are massive issues, both in the financial impact, but also with the endowment one, what it will do to our future fundraising. So we're still arguing on both of those pieces. Go to the next slide, please. Now, this gives you some kind of breakdown, and I'm not going to go through every part of this, but it's kind of how they came up with it. What they did was in each one, they came up with a base amount, and then they adjusted that base based on certain factors. So if you have a more diverse student body in general, you get more of an adjustment. So if you have more Pell Grant students, you have more students of color, you'll get a larger adjustment in each of these factors. Part of the problem with that, there's two things that really arise as a problem. One is, okay, we'll give more money to universities with more Pell Grant students. Pell Grants don't go to graduate and professional schools. So we have no idea the socioeconomic status of any of those students. So they're considered to all be basically students with resources, even if they don't have them. So it ignores the financial need of our graduate and professional students completely because they don't have access to Pell Grant students, so that's not included. That's problem number one. The big problem for us is they started with this as an undergraduate model. And they said, okay, well, we understand that for some programs, they're higher cost. And so if you see in the particularly core instruction one, they said, well, for a high cost program, we'll add a 20% premium. So if they're an English major, we're assuming $9,797 is enough. We'll add a 26% premium if they're an engineering student. And they said if they're in a healthcare program, we'll add 100%. So we're going to assume it's twice as much. It's actually for School of Medicine students, probably 15 times as much. For School of Dentistry, it's probably 7 or 8 times as much. So for a lot of our professional programs, it is significantly more costly than what they're estimating in the model. So it's way underestimating how much money we should be getting for those types of students. So that's another big problem. We've been focused on that one for a long time too. I will say for a while, in Edwardsville's case, dental is still included in the SIU numbers that I'll show in a second. Medicine for a while was included in the Carbondale numbers till I pleaded for them to move them out because I said you're way overestimating really how much resources SIU has available, SIU Carbondale has available. So if you go to the next slide. So this is where it stands today, and you can see the percentage of adequacy for each institution and what their adequacy gap is, which adds up across all the institutions to $1.4 billion. So that was what they're basically would be asking the state to support at about $135 million a year to get to that. I will say the highest I think we ever got was 80 million. So this would be a big jump up in an annual increase every year. If you look at the Carbondale number in particular, that's at 48 million. Before the School of Medicine was broken out, that was at 30 million. So simply by breaking out the School of Medicine, it significantly increased, over 50% increase in the adequacy gap for Carbondale. Again, if you change to net tuition revenue, that goes up to about 88 million. If you get rid of the endowment piece, that goes up another probably 8 million. So it's probably closer to 100 million. So right now we're basically about half of where we should be. Edwardsville, similarly, it's about 118 million. If we deal with dentistry, if we deal with endowment, and we deal with net tuition revenue, that would probably go up to, gosh, over 150, maybe 160 million. So it would change the adequacy gap pretty significantly for both of those institutions. Edwardsville right now is about the average of the adequacy gaps. Carbondale has an adequacy gap that's much smaller than most of the institutions. UIUC has the smallest, which probably is right, but even for them, it's probably off a little bit on what that percentage should be. So in kind of summary, we're generally supportive of a new formula. We're supportive of this type of approach of establishing an adequacy target and identifying the adequacy gap. We're not supportive of the model as it currently stands because of these issues, and they are not insignificant issues and what the impact would be on our institution and frankly others as well. And like I say, for most of the things I suggested it without even thinking simply about how it would affect SIU, of just what made sense to me in a model. I will say one of my concerns is, and you'll hear this a lot as well, 1.4 billion is going to go to higher education. You're all going to get more money than you traditionally have gotten. That's assuming that they put in $135 million a year for the next 10 years. Again, the highest we ever got was 80. So that's a big assumption. My goal is to make sure the formula works regardless of the amount available, whether it's 40 million, 80 million, 20 million, they're going to use the same formula. And so it needs to work regardless of whether there's a lot more money or very little new money, or in the worst case scenario, there's a reduction, they will use the same formula, which means, again, those that are considered closer to adequacy would absorb most of the decreases. So again, we need to make sure we get this right. So that's just kind of a summary. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Is this an IBHE proposal?
It's not coming, it's coming from the commission, not from IBHE specifically, although they were involved with the whole process.
Well, who writes this legislation? John Charles?
Not John.
I mean, are these just staffers for legislators that are coming up with this, or?
It's sponsors, legislation, part of the process.
Yeah, so there's advocacy groups work with the sponsors of the legislation to write the legislation. The legislation as it was written, at least what we got in the summer, really comes directly from the commission's report, which was available online. We're now working to adjust that.
Does that go through the IBHE or is it separate from the IBHE?
This will eventually go through the state legislature.
I know, but
Yeah.
But does IBHE weigh in on this?
They weigh in, but they're not in control necessarily of what's in the legislation, so.
So we have to have all of our lobbyists working hard to put this into form that not only SIU, but U of I and Illinois State and all of us.
Yeah, and I will say there's some issues where, like I say, in the endowment issue, all the universities are in the same place. Some of the other ones, we may have different perspectives on what makes sense. Again, for some of them, the cost of medical and dental education doesn't really make a big difference because they don't have medical and dental schools. For us, it obviously does. And again, I'm always happy to answer any questions offline if anybody has them. I did do a presentation for the leadership here at Carbondale. We're working on doing the same thing for Edwardsville. I do expect a lot of the advocacy groups will be approaching students, faculty, staff, and others, asking them to support this legislation. People can do whatever they want, but at least they should be informed of where we are as a system and as institutions.
And I think the board, you're sending to the board members report that someone we were going to have speak, but they put it in writing and it's on this issue. Okay. So each of us, Paul is going to send that to us. And I have no idea what position that individual's taking. Anything else? Anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay. All right, our next item is the call of the omnibus motion. Trustees have had approximately 10 days to study the items on the agenda. A number of certain items are routine or self-explanatory. So as to save time, we act upon them in one motion and vote. Madam Secretary, please read the items suggested for the omnibus motion.
Our omnibus motion will include board agenda items H through S and V through Z.
Is there any discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve these items?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We're now going to ask for a roll call vote.
Connolly,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower, Salger,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons, Tedrick.
Yes.
I declare the motion to approve the omnibus motion has passed. We have separate roll call votes. The next is consideration of board item F, report of purchase orders and contracts, August and September 2024, SIUC. Do I have a motion to approve this item? Will Secretary please call the roll?
Connolly,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes. I'm sorry, I need to abstain on that.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower, Salger,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons, Tedrick.
Recuse.
I declare the motion is passed. The next is the board item G, report of purchase orders and contracts, August and September 2024 SIUE. Do I have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Connolly,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower, Salger,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons, Tedrick.
Recuse.
I declare the motion is passed. Next, we have board item agenda T, items agenda T and U. T is a revision to approval to acquire real estate at 720 to 725 North Bond Street and 402 to 500 Herndon Street, Springfield School of Medicine, SIUC. And U is the approval of purchase academic office building lease, School of Medicine, SIUC. Do I have a motion to approve these items?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Connolly, Curtis,
Abstain.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower, Salger, yes, Sharma,
Yes.
I declare the
Tedrick.
Yes.
I declare the motion is passed. That concludes the business of the Board of Trustees today. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the board is planned to be held February 6th at the Edwardsville campus. A news conference will be held immediately at the conclusion of this meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Ms. Keith, please call the roll.
Connolly,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Hightower, Salger,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons, Tedrick.
Yes.
The motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned before noon.
Great.
That was the instructions.